passcode at checkout. Again, our goal is to support and get as many teachers on the site feeling supported, to really help, them succeed and have some success, not only for them, but obviously for our kids and the communities they serve. So.
Most definitely. And Darren, listen, we are super excited again to be a part of this. My mother was a teacher. My aunt was a teacher. I have my best friend is a teacher.
Absolutely.
So we understand. I've worked in the school system for years. So I understand the resources that are needed. I understand why a lot of these teachers do take the time and they sit there, and after going through college, they're like, you know what, let's do something different. Yeah. So we're happy to be a part of this to help you guys change that. So ladies and gentlemen, here's all you guys need to do. All you need to do is take a look and go to the link that's right below us right now and see what you're going to do. You're going to see 2 links on the page now, just to make sure. The top one takes you to their professional development page, homepage. That'll let you know about some of the things that are happening there and the things that you have access to. Go to the second link that says Teacher Appreciation. That'll take you directly to the content page where you can sign up and get your free year if you're a new teacher, and your free 6 months if you're an existing teacher. Let's show them how we utilize resources, and we make sure that we take time, those folks who are HBCU alum, and use this. And let's see what Stride has to offer. We're excited about it. We know you will be too. Darren, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the folks?
No, I mean, just, as a teacher myself, and understanding the need, and of course with the diversity that's needed in our teaching corps across the country, I know our HBCU teacher graduates are just exactly what we need in our community. So I really encourage them, and just glad to be doing this partnership with you all.
All right. Well, folks, there you go again. Mr. Darren Reed, Senior Vice President of Stride Professional Development Learning. We will be seeing you guys, and trust me, you'll be seeing more from their partnership with us as we move forward, always trying to do our best to make sure that we move forward with the community. Take care.
Thank you.
The Cuvee Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvee.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won a loss. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Nah,
we talking Valley?
Nah, I ain't talking Valley. Okay. We up, Doc.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Welcome to episode 435 of the Inside HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. The institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of the HBCU athletic program in the business of HBCU sports. We just call it HBCU sports pedagogy for short. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Along with our Sunday edition, one part of the X's and O's crew, HBCU Nightly star and curator, Joshua Sims Sr. With that being said, today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THD Agency. THD Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. I'm gonna take a point of personal privilege before I get into scores, as they say. And I just want to say this is really a shout out to my neighbor, as my son calls him, Mr. Dennis. He goes home to the weekend. He's Mississippi native, as you would say, and is an alumni of Alcorn, and he does what he's supposed to do. And he goes home to check out the game. Now, this is where it really gets nice. The man has an RV. Pulls the RV, big old truck, you know, has his flag out, military. I mean, he's all in. Teacher, and he's preparing those students that are junior ROTCs that are preparing maybe later to go into the military as an opportunity. So he does that full time. But outside of that, he's a super fan of the Braves. Tells it like it is. Now, he keeps his lawn immaculate. Him and his wife, they get out there trim. But it's just something during the fall when they have a game and it doesn't quite go right. The way he cleans his yard, you know, he gets up a little later. He's not out there fresh. When they win, he's out there. I mean, it's clean, it's going. He makes sure he's out there. And I think it's because he just happens to kind of wait to see if I'm coming out to the truck or do something. I don't do I hire someone. I don't do a lot. But I come out and I look for him. Yesterday, he left the trash can out. My wife, good neighbors. We're gone. He's gone. We take care of each other. Pull it in the back. I get this picture on my phone. We got the group text going, similar to what you talk about, Joshua, about the Circuit City Classic, where you couldn't see it. We couldn't see this game. It was about, at least ours was behind the paywall. Prairie View, with its brilliantness, didn't send their team down there, and we'll say less about that because we don't want to get anybody in trouble. I'm just saying, I'm a fan. And so we're going back and forth and all this stuff going on. But I get this random picture of the scoreboard when it's tied. I don't get anything back afterwards. So I'm just shouting out as they have safe travels riding back. I just wanted to acknowledge my friend, colleague, neighbor, Mr. Jennings. Shout out.
Can I acknowledge somebody?
I was about to say, can I acknowledge the jersey behind you? What you got behind you there?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was going to say that a little later, but we'll get into it now. Kobe Cavil had a big game, 3 catches, 2 big ones. One that set up the go-ahead touchdown in regards to that. They put him right on the 1-2 yard line. So shout out to Kobe Cavil. Nephew, get it on.
Boy, you know he part of that Cavil side of the family. That ain't Cavil. That's the Cavil side. That's the Cavil side. I'm going to ask Big Ben.
And shout out to Big Ben, the Cavil side, as Big Ben, the one that we know, not his father, but him, Big Anthony, Ben Anthony Cavil, his grandfather. We have submitted the paperwork for the SWAC Hall of Fame. So he's on the list and he's short list in terms of what he did the first century of the SWAC in 1925 through 1929. A great point of privilege. Thank you for doing that, Charles. Mike, I know you wanted to have a quick shout out. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm here with HBCU week here in Wilmington with a couple of companies recruiting, and dude walks up to me and says, "I know you." Of course, he has his DuPont shirt on, and he says, "Wait a minute, you work with Cavil?" I was like, "No, Cavil works with me. Now what you want?" So he's like, I knew you. Y'all part of Inside the HBCU Sports. So we got to talking. He's a FAMU fan. I sent a picture of him, Marcus Green. He's with ONG, with the ONG folks. So I wanted to give him a shout out. In the midst of doing corporate stuff last week and recruiting, we had a chance to talk a lot of HBCU stuff and talk a lot of noise back and forth, of course. So I wanted to give him a shout out.
Nice shout out. Great one there. Good one. Since we're doing a shout out, Joshua, did you want to go ahead and get yours out? Let me put up the cigar for Mike, Joshua, Charles, all of y'all getting your cigars this morning. Good stuff. Shout out to Roy in the background. He gets his cigar as well. Congratulations on the big win this past weekend.
I would I'm gonna give my shout out to I'm gonna wait because I got my notepad here. As y'all know, at the beginning of the season, I had a notepad and a checklist of things that North Carolina Central needed to accomplish. I'll go over that checklist once we get to the game that ensued yesterday. But my shout outs, let me go to my shout outs. I'm sorry, let me go back. My shout outs for right now for this weekend are, I would like to give a shout out to God for being the head of our household. I would like to give a shout out to my wife and children and my mama and my siblings and all of that good stuff. I would like to give a shout out to y'all three gentlemen for being so gracious and allowing for me to come on here every week and really get all of my 1801 feelings all out here for the world to be able to hear and see and feel in real time. Last but not least, I would like to thank Valley. Giving us a chance to get our face back in the way that we absolutely needed to do so. Thank y'all, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about it. I'll see y'all in a little bit.
I support this message like Mike.
Doc, let me make sure I get a shout out this morning.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, let me shout out Leilani Armenta, who is the first woman player in Jackson State football history. And she is believed to be the first woman to kick in a HBCU Division I game. So want to give a shout out to her yesterday for her contributions to Jackson State football team. Had a couple kickoffs yesterday, and she was needed out of necessity because Jackson State is down both of their field goal kickers. So that was huge yesterday in terms of, when I saw it, it kind of blew my mind, and I had to do a double take like, oh my God, that is a young lady. And she was out there kicking yesterday. So want to give a shout out in that regard. Want to send a shout out to all the fans who were flying back into Houston this morning. We had Alcorn fans, we had Prairie View fans, Jackson State fans. We had a couple of FAMU fans. They was on the plane coming back into Houston this morning. So, shout out to the HBCU fans and acknowledge Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Like to see y'all out there on the road supporting your team. So that was pretty cool to see that.
Absolutely.
Man, great shout outs this morning. Perfectly placed. Meant for all of them. I will say this in terms of Charles, kudos, because you're right, she was needed. So she came in through the clutch, did an excellent job. So shout out. This wasn't just about giving somebody an opportunity. This is where it's needed. Let me get in here and start with the mid-major top 7 updates of what took place this past week, including yesterday on Saturday, the majority of the game. At number 7, you had Miles Golden Bears. They defeat Clark Atlanta Panthers 55-14. So they improved to 2-1 overall, 1-1 in the conference. You had the number 16 Bowie State Bulldogs defeat the St. Augustine Falcons, just getting by them 10-7, 2-1 overall as they improve as well. 1-0 in terms of what they're doing in conference play. At number 5, Allen Yellow Jackets defeat the Central State Marauders 34-28. Another close one. Allen came back. He continued to get it done. They proved to 3-0, 2-0 in the conference play. Tuskegee Golden Tigers at number 4. They have another close one. Double overtime win over the Lane Dragons, 28-22, as Lane Dragons came roaring back. They're tied at 14 to take it to overtime, but the Golden Tigers, get it done as they improve to 3-0 on the season, 2-0, what they're doing in the conference race. At number 3, Virginia State Trojans defeat their conference rival as they shut them out, 33-0. Coach Dr. Henry Frazier III is rolling over there.
Coach.
At number 2, Virginia Union Panthers, they lost. They're on the top 17 that lost this week in a rain game all through it. So you could tell they had to just try to run the ball. And Fayetteville State gets the big time kick, wins 10-7 to get it done as Union falls for their
Broncos.
Yep. Benedict Tigers defeat Shawan Hawks 31-3. They just continue to demoralize teams. I don't know whatever term you want to use, but they just continue to get it done as they are rolling this season. With that being said, top 7 in terms of the major division. A couple of losses here in the top 7. So we'll see some teams jump in the top 7, and we'll see how far Virginia Union falls Tuesday when we announce everything. Number 7, Morgan State Bears. The Morgan State Bears fall in double overtime to Albany University. That's the one in New York. 23-17, a double overtime. I thought they were going to get the Tooth Fairy back. They had the fumble at the end that just came out of nowhere, picked it up, and moved to the goal line and could not get it in. So kudos to Albany, forcing to kick the field goal, which tied it and essentially sent it to overtime. Had a couple of chances overtime, could not quite get it done. So they fall this weekend. You're talking about a team that is right there. You could easily see a flip of a schedule with 2 more victories versus the losses. So, but it is what it is. You are what your record says you are, as many would say. Alcorn State Braves lose to Prairie View on a walk-off kick, basically with 0 time on the clock. I think officially 1 second, 23-20. Shout out, as I said, Cuvee, the rest of the players that came in, go down, come back, take the lead, and get it done. As it looked like the Braves going to do what they do to tie the game. The Panthers take the ball, come down the field, and get the victory. So Alcorn, the Braves fall to 1-3, 0-1 in terms of what they are in the conference race. At number 5, Jackson State Tigers defeat Bethune-Cookman Wildcats 22-16. Tough matchup, especially without the kickers, but you talking about fighting and get it done at home. Credit to the Tigers. Shout out to the Wildcats that made it extremely interesting. Jackson State improves to 3-2, 1-1 overall. At number 4, Hampton Pirates were open this past weekend. Tennessee State Tigers were open this past weekend, bringing us to number 2. North Carolina Central Eagles defeat the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils 45-3. We had to follow it on the game plan because we could not see it. Shout out to Roy. Maybe we'll call and see if they want a little action for the BCSN with the crew here. We can get it done for sure if they want to see the game. Florida A&M Rattlers defeat Alabama State Hornets 23-10. They pulled away late, a little closer than that throughout the action. Credit to Hornets defense. Quarterback comes in and gives a little spike to the team. But the FAMU Rattlers hold on as they get it done 3-1 and now improve to 2-0 in the conference race. Let's go to our first break. We'll come back on the other side and get into some of these matchups and see what these gentlemen say of what took place in HBCU sports football this past weekend.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome everybody to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
T. Madden & Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden & Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, and Joshua Sims Sr. We get in here and talk about the first mid-major match at CIAA in terms of what's going on there. In terms of Virginia Union and Fayetteville State, as Charles is trying to do a little bit of his homework. I see him in there giving some love to the game of the week out there. That was pretty nice, Charles. With that being said, Fayetteville State gets it done They improved to 2-2 on the season, 2-0 in the conference races. They give number 2 upset, major upset, probably first major upset of the early football season, I would say, with number 2 Virginia Union Panthers going down. And this was at home, 3-0, 1-0 in the season in terms of them going to 1-1, 3-1 thus far. Matchup, crazy matchup. Their game was on television. Joshua Sims Sr., what did you think about this matchup?
Yeah, man. First of all, man, shout out to the CIAA South, man. we were just saying it during the break, man. Did not have this plan for the CIAA South, man. And Fayetteville State flat out goes in and has a game yesterday. Rainy, windy, ugly. They go up to Richmond, Virginia, and they take advantage of the inclement weather, man. They take advantage of a nasty, ugly scenery. But this is football. It ain't always going to be sunny and bright and beautiful with clouds and 85-degree weather. Sometimes you're going to get games where it's rainy and it's windy and it's ugly. I mean, I was watching the game on television yesterday. You could barely see the cameras. You could tell that the cameras was getting flooded with rain and wind. And they flat out just run the ball. Both teams run the ball. You know Virginia Union is going to run the ball. Fayetteville State's going to run the ball for sure. The game opens up. Shout out to Christian Powell, man. Gets a chance to get inside of the end zone on a catch in an ugly environment. But Fayetteville State, man, stands tall, man. That defense stood tall. They really, really did as much as they could to try to bottle up that Virginia Union running game, and they ended up beating them a W yesterday. They get it done, man. It's a big time testament to really what's happening in the South right now. CIAA South right now, between Johnson C. Smith, Winston-Salem State, and of course Fayetteville State, who are the reigning conference champs. Those three programs right now are really, really bringing up the rear, if I say, for the CIAA South. And nothing was more of a testament to that than Fayetteville State going to Virginia Union, going to Richmond yesterday, and taking care of business.
I see. Shout out to the CIAA South as they are finding a way to get this done. Shout out to Johnson C. Smith. They will be a feature matchup this next week. With that being said, let's move on to the Allen, the darling of the SIAC, shall I say, taking on Central State that has just been right on the edge and playing everybody tough, but they can't break through other than that big win they had opening the season. With that being said, number 5 Allen Yellow Jackets take care of business as they win 34-28. They improve on the season to 3-0. 2-0 in terms of conference play, and Central State Marauders fall to 1-3 and 0-2. Even though they played pretty well, this game was in Wilberforce, Ohio, McPherson Stadium. Mike, what were your thoughts in terms of the breakdown of this matchup?
Sorry about that. Allen, 503 yards of total offense. If you look, they dominated the clock. They scored in every quarter. They held basically Central State to about 3.4 yards per carry on the offensive side. But David Wright, quarterback, he had 370 yards, now almost 400 of offense. And then Bo Harrington had 110 on the grounds. And then you had DeAndre Ruffin as well, get 109 yards as well in the air. So you had some key performers for Allen. You look for your performers for Central State to step up. Cass Dina, on the ground at maybe 56 yards. And Jeremiah Flores, he was the only receiver for Central State. But really, to me, this score is indicative of how Allen, they came to play some football. You look at turnover.
Another huge win, Allen Yellow Jackets. I think they've arrived and they let everybody know that they're going to be around for the long haul. So it'll be fun to watch and see what Allen does the rest of the season. I'm curious. I think that's the end of the season. They finish it out with Benedict.
Right.
I was waiting to see what Benedict was on the schedule. I keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, that'll be a good game. But Benedict been giving it to everybody this year. Their average margin of victory is 40 points? So It'll be interesting to see what that Allen offense can do with Benedict.
Good stuff. Joshua, is Allen the Yellow Jackets for real?
Well, we'll find out next Saturday. Are they for real? They got Fort Valley next Saturday. at home. We'll find out next Saturday. Once Fort Valley stomp into there and see what happens, then we'll find out again in a couple weeks on October 21st when they got to play against Miles. Then we'll find out again when they finish the season up against Benedict. But if you ask me for right now, as of right now, what's today? The 24th, September 24th. Oh, they for real. Oh, they for real right now. But,
for real.
They for real right now. But we gonna find out next Saturday when they got to play against Fort Valley State. Shout out to Coach Gibbs, man. Eagle Pride.
I love it. Joshua keeps setting me up. That's another featured matchup of the week at Fort Valley and Allen. So those fastballs, I appreciate that, Josh. Real professional. Let me go to you, Charles. Talk about the Brunswick, Georgia, Glenn County Stadium, Coastal City HBCU class was played, and it was a defensive slugfest.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, Albany, as Mike likes to remind me and tell me, the Golden
That's
Rain
right.
get it done over Tigers of Savannah State, 15-12. What were your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
You mentioned a defensive slugfest. So the story of the game, Albany State's dirty blue defense. They did a great job. They kept Savannah State out of the end zone most of the day. And really the biggest thing was all SIC running back, Shamarcus Poole. They really held him in check. Only 6-7 yards rushing yesterday against Albany State. But, that's a huge win. Nice win right in their own backyard. And they got some recruiting edge over Savannah State. We getting that W yesterday.
That being said, I'm going to talk about this last game, Langston and Texas College. Langston, this is a battle of one of the teams getting their first win of the season. Langston got it done and thrashed, if you would, Texas College, the Steers, 47-6. So Langston Lions get it done and get their first win of the season. Let's take our break and we'll come back on the other side.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry. Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it. Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
From them press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and Joshua Sims Sr. With that being said, we're going to go to our major division games of the week. We got 4 on the block for you. Might sneak in another one. But with that being said, we're going to go to Jackson, Mississippi, home of the Tigers. Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium. The suitcase game where Coach T.C. Taylor and the rest of the team get to unpack the suitcases and they get the first home game of the season. Fans were wearing red. They were live. What I really liked is that end zone shot with W.C. Gordon Classic painted and highlighted in red, real crisp with the blue on there. Now that was quality. That was nice. Great shout out to the team that gets that done, those that are architects on the field and making it look like you had that real game day atmosphere. We're talking about a top 5 team in Jackson State Tigers. They get the win. It was a stubborn one, if you would, 22-16. You talk about fighting back all that adversity in terms of what was going on, but they get the win. Bethune-Cookman looked like maybe they were going to try to take it away from the Tigers, but the defense gets a big play and gets it done in a lot of ways as they win 22-16 over the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats in the second conference game for Jackson State as they improved to 1-1. 3-2 overall. Bethune-Cookman falls to 1-3 and 0-1 in the SWAC race. With that, Charles, what were your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, the score says 22-16, but it was a defensive slugfest. And Jackson State's defense, they took a butt whooping last week against Texas State. And I think they came back and responded very well against a tougher than expected Bethune-Cookman team. I think a lot of people look at this game as though Jackson State was going to go in and just roll over the Wildcats. But you take your hat off to that coaching staff. They were well prepared, and T.C. Taylor mentioned in the post-game presser how prepared they were. And that there was a really good defensive effort by Bethune-Cookman. They did a great job of keeping Jason Brown out of rhythm yesterday. And that's something that is a bit of a concern because we've seen good Jason Brown and we've seen okay to so-so to bad Jason Brown. So we got something of that yesterday with regards to Jackson State's quarterback play. What they want to get is good, consistent quarterback play. And TC mentioned it in the post-game press in terms of just getting a full game out of all 3 phases, which we've seen the offense hit on all cylinders in one game, defense does well one game, special teams does well one game, but they haven't quite put it all together. So you take your hat off to Bethune-Cookman. They did a great job yesterday, but Jackson State was able to get a good, hard-fought win against a game Bethune-Cookman team. Irv Mulligan, again, they had to ride him pretty tough yesterday, 174 yards, what he was able to do on the ground. But I think the stat of the day in that game, Jackson State's defense, I believe the stat, Bethune-Cookman was 0 for 13 on third down. So that was the thing that really stood out for me yesterday. And like you said, it was a tremendous day. W.C. Gordon, he brought the red to Jackson State, and they showed honor towards him again with the red out. It was tremendous to see the stadium full of red yesterday.
Yeah, good breakdown in terms of you got that there. Third down efficiency, they snuck one more in on your 0 for 14.
0 for 14.
Yeah, to get that in there because that was a great stat that you point out. They were just 2 or 3 on fourth downs when they needed to get it done. Really significant in terms of what the defense was able to score and got a scoop and score to even get on the board themselves. With that being said, let me go to Joshua Sims Sr. and talk about this classic, if you would, in terms of Indianapolis, Indiana, Lucas Oil Stadium Circle City Classic. It is the 3rd installment of the 3 that we'll get this year between the MEAC SWAC. Obviously, the opening one's the MEAC SWAC Challenge. SWAC was able to get that done, talking about those Jackson State Tigers over the South Carolina State Bulldogs. Well, North Carolina Central, the Eagles, get a little payback and get the ship righted, as they would like to think on that side. Even the series at 1-1, which keeps the Celebration Bowl for define in multiple ways the matchup between MEAC and SWAC. In this matchup, Central really got it going away. They won 45-3. Number 2, North Carolina Central takes down Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. North Carolina Central improves to 3-1 on the season. Delta Devils fall to 0-3, continue their struggles. But one thing that was fascinating in terms of this matchup, if you want to go there, was the fact that Walker Harris, that you alluded to a little bit on HBCU Nightly on Wednesday, got the call. And he represented well, the junior, 6 foot, 180 pounds from Rossville, North Carolina. Really took it to the Eagles in many ways and showed out 17-28 263 yards, 5 touchdowns, and no interceptions on the ledger. Credit to what he was able to do. Joshua Sims, senior, if you would, go a little deeper inside the numbers and tell us what you thought about this matchup here.
Well, Doc, man, I thought that this was an incredible show and an incredible opportunity for Walker Harris, Big Walk Dog, or Walker Texas Ranger, as we call him around our parts, man. This is a good opportunity for him to be able to show America and show all of HBCU football and all of FCS, all of Division I football, that there will not be a layoff or a lag next year when Davius Richard leaves the building. That has been the biggest question. And I've continuously told people multiple things, 2 things in particular. One, that our offensive line, though we lost Robert Mitchell and lost Corey Bullock to the transfer portal, that the offensive line as a unit was better this year than it was the previous year. We saw a very, very dominant offensive line so far this year, giving up a resounding 1 sack this entire season so far. One sack this entire season thus far. And you look at this offensive line, and yesterday we had a chance to get some young guys in there, to get some reps, to get some, to build that depth as we go into, really a tough part of our schedule. That offensive line is playing lights out, man. And you have Walker come in yesterday to give Davius a chance to kind of sit back and relax, to get ready for Campbell coming into the nest next week. Walker goes for 5 passing touchdowns. I think he either ties or was right behind the school record for the most passing touchdowns in a game, which is incredible to see. So, but also on that defense. And I talked about this defense in particular being vicious, being nasty, and being fast. Shout out to our young guy, DeJour, defensive end DeJour, who lost his mother at some time this year. But he has been playing really, really motivated ball. Against the school down the highway, had 3 sacks. Last week against UCLA, not so much, but this week he comes back out and he gets 3 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. This young brother is balling. And for a team that last year had questions about the edge, coming off the edge rushers, he has been a bright side and a bright feature for what that defense is going to look like going forward. And then overall yesterday, man, as a defense, gave up a couple gash plays, but held them out of the end zone. I mean, it was an overall great performance on offense, defense, and special teams yesterday. Didn't give up anything on special teams yesterday, which is always something that you can always tip your cap to. But without a question, without a shadow of a doubt, Doc, you hit the nail on the head. Walker Harris yesterday had a dynamic performance. That offensive line did what they were supposed to do again yesterday. Offensive line did what they were supposed to do. Running back room did what they were supposed to. It was a complete game. And I can check another thing off my list. First check off was to beat both of our rivals in state. Check. Second check off was to clear out the state of Mississippi. Check. Now our next checklist is to go undefeated against the Colonial. The Colonel. Whatever they calling themselves this year, to clear out the CAA in non-conference play. That is our next one. We got a big one next week in the nest at home against Campbell, who lost to Elon yesterday, who we then have after we play Campbell. So it's a beautiful day in the triangle right now. Man. It's a beautiful day.
Oh my God.
I like the check box. Charles, you see you doing some notes and checking. What did you want to tell Joshua about your check?
Check box guy. Let me ask you, because you mentioned this next 3-game stretch.
Yes.
Who, if anybody, in this next 3 games, would you look at him like, oh, okay, we better make sure we tighten X, Y, or Z up?
Well, I got to go straight to next week, Chuck. I got to go straight to next week. Last year is in the past. For whatever reason, Coach Oliver came into this season extremely motivated to get back some of those losses that he had in the first couple years here with us in our program. And so nothing is going to be bigger than Campbell next week. Campbell, who runs a defensive a scheme that's very similar to the pro style. We heard Coach KJ Black come on HBCU Nightly last week and talk about Campbell having a pro style defense, having a guy in Mike Mental who played in the league, had a very long career in the NFL. And literally, man, that defense calls plays. We got El Haj Malik coming in next week again. They passed 44 times yesterday. 44 times yesterday against Elon. Just came up a little bit short against Elon. And so if our defense is going to do anything, it's got to be ready for that up tempo. We can't use another excuse this year that the that tempo caught us slipping. We're going to be at home. We're going to have the opportunity to control the sticks. The game clock already moves faster. They're looking to try to get as many plays in as possible. We cannot allow El Malik to come in and throw the ball 40-some-odd times, and we don't get to him. And so if I had a game in this next 3-game stretch that we've got to make sure that we're on top of our A game, it's next week against Campbell. In the nest, at home, we have not lost in the nest in a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And in order for us to be able to continue to protect the nest, we're going to have to bottle up El Malik next week. We're going to have to make them run the ball instead of throwing the ball all over the field. And then our offense is going to have to be efficient, be consistent, and stay ahead of the chains. Do not allow for that game to get behind us. And I think that if we do that, we should not only beat Campbell, but we should be able to take care of business in a dominant fashion.
Good stuff. Let me go to you, Mike. I know you've been sitting patiently wanting to get into the X's and O's, as Joshua Sims and B.J. Jones would say, of this next matchup we had this past weekend, Lorman, Mississippi, Jack Spence Stadium. You have top 7 program, number 6 Alcorn State Braves, who fall to 1-3 based on the ranking, was an upset as Prairie View A&M goes on the road, gets it done. They improved to 2-2 overall. More importantly, they're at 2-0 in the conference race as they take down their second Western Division foe on this early season. They do it in fine fashion. Basically, a walk-off field goal at 23-20 in terms of that matchup. With that being said, Mike, if you would, what were your thoughts in terms of what took place in this matchup?
First, data point. PV has not beaten the Braves since 2016. Second, data point. Panthers have not won in Lorman since 2015. Data point. Third, preseason. Who was number 4 or 5 in the West? Think about it. Prairie View A&M. We've knocked out 2 of the folks that were above us. Next stop, Grambling. We wondered going into this season, Prairie View has a great offense. They got Ahmad Andre. They got Brian Jenkins, a transfer from Alabama A&M. How would they fare on the road against a team that could run? I'll tell you, data point. Who's number 5 or 6 in the SWAC and rushing? Jarvion Howard. Who's number 3 or 4 in the SWAC and rushing? Ahmad Antoine. Who got the better of the 2? Yes, Ahmad Antoine. So 80 yards, but 80 key yards. Jarvion Howard held to only 40 yards rushing. If you'd have told me that at the end of the game, he didn't end the game with only 40 yards rushing, I would have said, no way. Aaron Allen, great game. Their second leading rusher. Nico Duffy, only 20 yards. So that defense stepped up in the second half. If you look at this game, it was really a tale of 2 halves because Alcorn State really dominated. The score doesn't reflect it because at halftime it was 10-7. Alcorn State really dominated the time clock in the first half. Come in, their defense said, we got to come play ball. They got the game's only turnover. After that, Alcorn State went 3 and out, I think 3 or 4 possessions, and Prairie View said, we come here to play. And they scored, I think they went up like 21-13, something like that, 20-13, and then Alcorn State drives the ball down. Aaron Allen did. They had one of those drives, but it came down to that last kick, that second walk-off, Dr. Cavil, that you talk about for Living La Vida Gomez. Leaving La Vida Gomez. 2 walk-offs. I don't care how we get it done. But when you find a way to get it done against a team like Alcorn State that rushes the ball in Lorman, Mississippi, the year our Lord, 2024, you've done something. You're sending a statement. So the other thing I want to give kudos to, I think the Panthers needed that extra receiver. You know, if you look at receiving, they had Jenkins, great. They had Trajan Spiller, 50 yards, 4 catches. But there was a young man named Cuvee Cavil. I joke with Dr. Cavil, but he had 4 key catches if you watch that game. Catches, one set up actually the final score. So kudos to that 4th receiver for finally stepping up.
Man, there he go. He gonna say cow.
Hey, I caught that.
It was perfect, man. He did everything perfect. Then he purposely gonna say cow. Ben would be proud. I'm gonna tell the rest of folks. Chell's looking at his head, talking about, man, what just went on here? Shout out to the Kobe twins. As Corey was texting me, make sure and send me a video of that last catch. proud of Kobe. Number 4, you see Deuce has his jersey. We're very proud. The other thing that Mike, that you talk about, the walk-offs, the fact that those 2 wins, they were on the road. Those were tough victories. That was against the Texas Southern, where they had Body playing in that matchup. You also had them, obviously, Aaron getting it done. This is a team that a lot of people thought, Alcorn, after that home victory, to their credit, against McNeese State, folks was like, yeah, they're ready to go. Charles, what else you got in this?
Well, I think, like you mentioned, to 2 road wins, that puts more emphasis on you better protect the house. You got to protect home. You got some games coming up at home that you have got to be loud, proud, and really making a house of horrors for teams coming in. But I think that the stat that jumped out for me with this Alcorn Prairie View team, because they're so similar, Aaron Allen, 37 pass attempts. And to me, if Alcorn is throwing the ball 30 plus times, it means I'm doing something right. It means I'm holding down that run game, and that's really what jumped out at me in this game. Because when I saw that stat, and no dig at Aaron Allen, had a good game, 26-37, but 37 pass attempts. That means you're keeping Jarvin Howard in check somewhere.
Yeah, good point when you talk about, and Trayvon Collins. People don't want to talk about him. I thought he was the quarterback that everybody overlooked. Everybody wanted to talk about all these other great quarterbacks, to their credit. But Trayvon Collins went to work, and you talk about being efficient. He might not do a lot, but he was 12 of 19, 187 yards, and key. Got the touchdown. Had the 1 interception, but he redeemed himself for it, and he got in crucial rushing yards at the appropriate time. 4 for 12 with the big rushing touchdown. So credit to what he did, spreading the ball around his receivers, as you picked up some of them, but it was 5 of them. Check out what they averaged on their catch. Brian Jenkins Jr., 30.5 a catch. I only had 2, but they were 2 big ones, 61 yards in terms of longer 38. Trey John Spiller, 4 for 54, 13.5 on his average. Getting in the end zone on one of them, a longer 28. Kobe Cavil, 3 of 46, 15.3 yards a catch, had a longer 24. So Dylan Domel, 2 of 18, 9 on his. David Murray got into action, 1 of 8, but he had 8 on his. So when they do pass, they are very functional at picking up big yards in terms of when that rushing game is getting it done in that mix, it gets work. Let's go to this last game. And DJ Jones, I want you to get in on this, as all 4 of us are going to get in here. And I'll let you, Josh, see you want to have comments there, because I know you've been quietly talking about Prairie View yourself on HBCU Nightly and tried to tell everybody. Everybody wanted to go Alcorn, and you said it. I'm going to go to you, Joshua, and then I'll come back to you, Charles. We're all going to get on the mix as we talk about FAMU and Alabama State. Go ahead, Josh.
I was just saying that's that yak, man. That yard after catch.
Yard after catch.
Having the ability to put the ball in receivers' hands and they make something happen with it, man. That is something that the old ball player in me, the old coach in me gets excited about. When I see guys catch the ball and they make a play, I'm not talking about the quarterback always having to put the ball in the breadbasket. I'm talking about the offensive coordinator make a call. It could be an inside dig, it can be a drag route, it can be an inside sit route, it can be a snag or a spot route, it can be a curl route, and you find a way to make that defender miss and you get the yards after the catch. That's what I'm excited about hearing. When I see gashes for 28 yards, most of the time you ain't passing the ball down the field for 28 yards. That means you got a pass that probably went for 10 to 12 yards. You made a guy miss. You broke it for another 10 to 12 yards or another 15 to 18 yards. And that's that yards out of the catch. I'm glad to see this because Trayvon Collins was somebody I talked about at the beginning of the season. And I said was this Prairie View A&M team is going to go as Trayvon Collins goes. And the season, he's got a full receiving core. Full receiving core.
I also want
go ahead, Chuck.
I also want y'all to go back and cite Charles Bishop back at Swag Media Day, talking about Prairie View.
You specifically talked about all the weapons, Brian Jenkins Jr. And I was going to
Brian.
You talked about doing that as you saw different things and how they were able to get some stuff done. Let's go to Tallahassee, Florida, Bragg Memorial Stadium. SWAC game. Alabama State Hornets were coming back off a week off, and they were taking off the #1 team in many people's poll, certainly Dr. Cavil's FAMU Rattlers. And boy, did they mess around and make it interesting. Couldn't get it done. Credit to the Rattlers as they really jumped in there and made the most of it. Defense came to play for sure. BJ Jones, what were your thoughts in terms of this matchup as FAMU, the Rattlers, improved to 3-1, 2-0, more importantly in conference play, as Alabama State falls to 1-2 and 0-1 in conference play. BJ Jones, what are your thoughts?
I mean, the biggest thing is that, man, FAMU found a way to do it. Alabama State found the quarterback. That offense looks a lot different yesterday. And if you look at the passing yards, that quarterback actually outdueled Musa. If you look at the yardage and everything, but look, FAMU finds a way to get it done. I think with the 17 straight at home that they've won. We talked about this a year ago. This Alabama State FAMU rivalry, when FAMU came into the conference, we knew about Southern and FAMU, but this Alabama State FAMU rivalry is quickly becoming one of the best rivalries in all of HBCU football. But just looking at FAMU, the way that they got it done, Alabama State could not run the ball. I think they didn't even average a yard a carry on yesterday. Man, FAMU, man, they find ways to get it done. And you can tell maybe they kind of overlooked Alabama State a little bit, looking at they lost the miles and kind of slept walk in it, but they found a way to win. Win pretty, but you'll take ugly wins better than a pretty loss right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it, BJ. 23 of 14.6 yards, along of 19. They shut down, certainly, Alabama State rushing. Damon Stewart, 23 of 38, 289. One touchdown, did have the interception. Mike, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think comparatively, I agree that Devon Stewart hit comparatively to Jeremy Musa. You could argue that he played as well or better comparatively. He did have the one touchdown. I thought the thing that stood that even though it was an ugly win, you controlled this ball for damn near 40 minutes of the game. Now, were they productive on 40 minutes? No, but a total of 353 yards. When you control the ball that much, you give the other team less opportunities to capitalize on it. So whether they scored or not, they held control of the ball 40 minutes. That's 2/3 of the game.
Yeah, good analysis. I like that. Charles, what do you have?
You got it done, but it has to ring alarms for me when I look at their ground attack and they only got 59 yards on the ground. I know how stout Alabama State's defense is, but that has to ring some alarm bells for them to only average 2.8 yards per carry. And when I look at their schedule, I got to ask this question of the panel: is there another team out there that can control FAMU's running game, pin their ears back, and come after Jeremy Musa?
We just talked about Prairie View homecoming. Maybe that's the one if they can get if they can run the ball, which is what you need to control that clock and get them off there. Prairie View's one of them. That matchup they had with Southern is another one if they can get it. But the question you got with Southern, though, is that line play. There's still some questions in terms of what Southern does on the line. So I know people are excited in terms of the backfield of Southern, but there's been some questions about the line play. In the end, not that we have to dive into this level, but you also have the concerns of just the rift, if you would, between the Southern fan base and the coach itself. At some point, that is a troubling sign, not as if they can't get it done, but that's going to seep into what the players are doing. And if a team can push a little doubt, it becomes a challenge. I don't think you can do that for a full season. They have to find a way to kind of coalesce that. And I know they're working through it, but that is something that kind of makes me nervous as well. Josh, let me get your thoughts in terms of this matchup. You have a unique view. Over the years, you've seen FAMU in terms of the MEAC. Now they're in the SWAC. So you get to get this front porch view, if you would, in terms of the SWAC matchup. What did you think in terms of what you saw come down when FAMU got it done 23-10? Defense made some big-time plays in terms of this matchup as well.
Look, man, football is not difficult. Sometimes we, as prognosticators and in the media and coaches and fans, sometimes we make it more difficult than it has to be. And it's not difficult. To win on Saturdays is incredibly difficult. To win a football game in general is very difficult to do. And to string off the amount of home wins that FAMU has strung off is incredible. That being said, Jeremy Musa, 25 of 40 for 294 yesterday. That tells a lot right there. 2 passing touchdowns tells me a whole lot, man. It tells me a couple things in particular about Alabama State's defensive back room. A little bit of a challenge, man, dealing with that fluidity in that FAMU receiving room yesterday. They had some issues, man, and it kind of exposed itself all 4 quarters of the game. But there were some situations in that game yesterday. And I can say this because I know what it feels like to be in down and distance moments, and you got to make a call. There were some situations yesterday down in distance where I saw FAMU call some questionable play calls. Some play calls that you just don't call in certain situations. And I'm concerned. Now, I'm not concerned to the place where I'm saying this could come back and bite them against who they get ready to play against. But let's say, for instance, a Southern team gets rolling. And they showed it. They are very, very opportunistic. Over time, we've seen Southern's defense be very opportunistic. It is not a pushover defense. You are not going to play against Southern and feel like you can just make a whole bunch of things. Giving Dr. Cavil a great point, there are some issues going on from a culture standpoint, a rift between the fans and the coaches and the players that causes an effect on the players. But I'm not so much concerned about that game being what it is as much as I'm concerned about October 28th when they got to go play when Prairie View A&M comes into town. A defense that has shown already is opportunistic and has an offense. Listen to this, y'all. They have an offense that can capitalize. Prairie View has shown you. They got an offense that can capitalize when you make questionable play calls in certain situations. No coach is going to call a perfect game, but there are some play calls that you just don't call in certain situations. And I saw FAM do that 4 times yesterday. 4 times. And if we had the time, I would go through each and every one of those play calls. And I'm saying that eventually somebody's going to catch up to you making them play calls. And you think that it's okay for you to make them play calls because you're playing against a team that virtually has not even a pedestrian offense across the field. They have almost a non-existent offense over there. You switch the quarterback, still look non-existent. I'm saying that if you don't get that figured out, and you don't figure that out before you got to get ready to play against Prairie View, before you got to play against Southern, you're going to have some problems on your hands. You're going to have some real issues on your hands. And so I was very, there was a couple of them calls. I got 4 of them written right down in my handy-dandy notebook that I saw was questionable play calls and down and distance.
I got a little that supports that. I got some points that support that. You know who's number 1 against the rush in the SWAC? It's FAMU. You know who's number 2? Alabama State. Number 3, Southern. And then comes Prairie View A&M. So you just played Alabama State, okay? All right. Now the problem is FAMU is good against the run. But when you talk about passing, they drop down somewhere to the middle, almost 3rd quartile of the SWAC in allowed passing yards. They're allowing 240 yards. So that tells me right now that if you can pass or have a balanced offense against them, you have a very good chance to beat FAMU. That's right. That's one-sided. Whereas you look at Prairie View, on both sides of the ball, solid defense. You look at even Southern, solid on both sides of the ball against the run and against the pass, statistically. So, yes, you have 2 games statistically, Southern and Prairie View A&M, data points that could be very tough if you don't play your game.
Let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side and we'll talk about each of you get to pick your key matchup in terms of next week. And you can also add in terms of some games as you were kind of discussing there with other teams as you start to get into conference play a couple of weeks from now for the MEAC as you continue to the harder folks conference play in the SWAC over the rest of the season. Stick with us. We'll be back after this last break.
Novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplify Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplify Development Services.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Shout out to Ricky Burton, Great Win Graham, and my brother at PV. I see the shout outs are ready to go. We talking about State Fair Classic. I think somebody might get that out there in terms of a key matchup. We'll see how that should set up. He said it's real early, but Grand PV Southern back on top like old times. I hear you. I deal with it. Magic, though, usually we only get this during Labor Day Classic weekend where we have a Sunday game or two. We have one today at 12 high noon. You have Shaw traveling to Elizabeth City State military appreciation game with a matchup today. So we'll make sure we share some love with Shaw and Elizabeth City State. With that being said, BJ Jones, what is your matchup of this week that you're looking at, or one that you just can't get out of your head following up for a couple of weeks down the road?
Oh, man, for this week coming up, man, it's Grambling and Prairie View, State Fair Classic. You know, it's one of those things, man. You know, I want to see it. You know, you kind of want to saw Grambling yesterday in Texas Southern, and I think that this game is going to be one of those building blocks, one of those tree-shaking games when we talk about how the West will be determined. And then on the other side, a game that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing, Alcorn has to go to Alabama State this weekend. And that one's going to be interesting. Alabama State looked a lot better offensively. They look like that from the point standpoint, but they look a lot more capable offensively. What that defense is going to look like against that Alcorn offense, can Aaron Allen replicate what he did on yesterday as far as his arm and through the air against Alabama State? And the third, I'm calling upset alert. I'm hitting the panic button. I'm calling upset alert. Tuskegee visits Alabama A&M.
Yes.
Homecoming. Would not be shocked.
I'm calling that one too.
I think the Golden Tigers get Alabama A&M at home for homecoming and spoil it on Saturday.
Man, BJ Jones, you throwing fastballs as well as I talked about Joshua Sims. That is my mid-major classic game of the week. It's a bonus game since we don't have a mid-major classic this week. Obviously, classic game of the week is that Prairie View Grambling game. So you're on the money as we're getting some of these key matchups out here early. So I like what you're talking about there. Charles, jumping up the bits. What's on your mind? What do you look forward to this weekend that you say, I got to see what it happens?
Well, this Tuskegee team that fought tooth and nail with the Lane Dragons yesterday. We are expecting them to go up to Alabama A&M and steal one. That's what I'm hearing.
They got caught looking ahead.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I'll be in one of those dog houses. Shout out to to Alabama A&M Bulldogs. I'm taking the white home there, so I'll get to see it live. So I'll let you know one way or the other what takes place, Charles.
Yeah, no doubt. But the other one, I think BJ touched on it. I mean, State Fair Classic this upcoming weekend, Grambling and Prairie View. And, nobody's talking about Grambling, and they just creeping around. They creeping around, and here comes Chance Williams, Floyd Chalk, Lyndon Rash. They got some dynamite components. They look scary, and then they have a great pass rush, and that's going to be a fun one next week. And now Prairie View's turning a few heads. Now we all get to take a look at State Fair Classic this weekend. That should be a really, really good game.
Yeah, what's unique about that people didn't realize, I get the cheat code, so I got to sit up and watch all these games. The preseason defensive player of the year for the SWAC, Cindy Anderson, was ejected in that game for hit on the quarterback late in that matchup. So he's out for 3 quarters in terms of the State Fair Classic. So that's a challenge for that, particularly this team's been able to run on them. And while they pulled away with Texas Southern backup, there were many plays that Texas Southern left on the field that could have changed the direction of that game. So it's interesting when these matchups, when you look at them, and how it's not a huge difference between a lot of these teams. And I don't think people consider that. I think people are in love with brands. And that's why I love the way you all talk about football, because you get into the numbers. You talk about what a team is doing well, what they're not doing well, what they can improve on, where they're hitting on cylinders. You go into matchups in terms of who has the ability to navigate that space because of rivalry games, who may be looking past the team. So there are many different variables that we all must consider. So it's intriguing. You all have me watching games totally different than I have in the past. So I appreciate that. Let me go to you, Mike. What's on your mind?
Oh, a lot of what's been said already. This State Fair Classic will be in place. Oh my God, which has been in place for a number of years. This year takes on even a whole nother level of what is going to happen down the road in the SWAC West. So you mentioned Anderson, the linebacker. I plan to mention that as well. That's a key loss for Grambling. Grambling has finally figured out, after a slow start this year, we're in the football business. So they keep creeping around. They remembered that they play football. So this game will be tough. So the other one that BJ Jones mentioned was that Tuskegee. I'm calling the upset on that one too. I'll put my name on that one. That just might be the upset. The other one, and I see the time, Doc, is Allen versus Fort Valley. You got 3-0 Allen against 3-1 Fort Valley. Fort Valley's only loss was to Tuskegee by 6 points. So that will be interesting. We're gonna see how real either Allen or Fort Valley is this year. That's another key matchup that I can't wait to see next week.
Man, it's fascinating. I'm going to go to Joshua to save us some love with these folks all in love with the SWAC. I guess Mike did throw in a little SIEC since A.D. Drew is not here. BJ Jones showed us a little love. But I'm like Charles. I'm a little intrigued about how y'all talking about Tuskegee going into Alabama A&M rivalry game. I know they're going to be hyped for that, but Tuskegee, I've got the chance to watch Tuskegee right here on the BCSN network because we cover the games and like that. And I'm not sure if I'm seeing the same thing that I'm seeing from you all about Tuskegee. This is a bend but don't break defense. This is a Tuskegee that won against Fort Valley State. Give them credit, but it went down to the wire, 37-31 last play. Couldn't get in there. Now they beat up Kentucky State, Tuskegee 36-10. They got a tough matchup against Central State. Was right there with them, 27-21. All but gave them hell. And then Lane took them to double overtime. They only put up 14 points in the regular part of that game. It was 14-0, and Lane storms back. It's 14-14. And so I'm intrigued about that matchup. Y'all got me looking a little closer if I'm missing something from Tuskegee. With that being said, Joshua, Give us some CIAA, some BAC love. What you got on your plate, man? All this SWAC and SIC love. I don't know.
Well, you know, Doc, the unfortunate part about this part of the season for the CIAA is that the intriguing matchups aren't happening right now. You know, like you might catch a upset here and there. Like yesterday, we got Virginia Union going down to Fayetteville State. You know what I mean? You might catch one of those. Bowie State almost gave one up to St. Albans.
Yeah.
But the reality is that this part of the season ain't really that exciting in the CIAA. But that being said, I will say that I am interested. I'm interested in the fact that Fayetteville State's got to go up to Bluefield, West Virginia. They got to go to Bluefield, West Virginia. They got to go take on another CIAA North opponent in West Virginia. Ain't no telling what the weather going to be like. Ain't no telling what the atmosphere going to be like. And that's a rough thing to do 2 weeks in a row, to go on the road and beat two CIAA North teams on the road. And I can guarantee you, Coach Coachman going to have them Bluefield State boys ready to rock and roll. It's a home game. So that's intriguing for me in the CIAA. Winston-Salem State's got to go up to Lincoln, Pennsylvania to take on again another CIAA North team. Shout out to my dog G, Gerald Huggins, who's on HBCU Nightly every week. They going to have that defense ready to go. Is Winston-Salem State's offense for real? We starting to see a couple of tenants. We starting to see a couple flashes. You know what I mean? Are they for real? We get a chance to see that. And then again, it goes without saying, but it's the same question we have about Allen on the SIAC side. I have that same question about Johnson C. Smith. Johnson C. Smith, are you for real? They go on the road to take on Elizabeth City State. They got to go right down that state borderline between North Carolina and Virginia, and they got to go up to Elizabeth City State. Heard it's going to be a good, beautiful atmosphere up there in Elizabeth City. Northern North Carolina atmosphere. College football ain't no joke up there. Trust me. I took a visit there once or twice. They're going to have to come with their lunch pail. But I think, that's the intriguing matches. Those are the intriguing matches up in the CIAA. Again, y'all give some credence to the CIAA. Right now is not when you get your most intriguing matchups. You got some North versus South battles, but it ain't very, very intriguing. Now in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. Oh, school down the highway. Are you gonna score a touchdown? Norfolk State bouncing back after a loss to a mid-major program that is rocking and rolling. Virginia State, look for that Mid-Eastern Athletic invitation to come in the mail in 3 to 5 business days. Coach Frazier, I love you, Coach. You ain't about to sit in that CIAA for much longer. We coming to get y'all. Dr. Abdullah got so much love for you. We talk so much in the back room. I got so much love for Dr. Abdullah, the president of Virginia State. Hey, look for that invitation to come in the mail in 3 to 5 business days. We need to overnight it. We'll overnight it via UPS or FedEx, whoever's going to get it there the fastest. But that's what's going to happen. But old school down the highway, you got some big news this week. Your chancellor's retiring. You got a lot of instability going on in Greensboro. You ain't won a game. You haven't scored a touchdown that much. You can't pass the ball. And then you got Norfolk State, who with Otto Coons right now looking like a completely different team. And then you got to go up to Old Norfolk. And I've always said, whatever can go wrong, if there's a stadium in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, I promise y'all, God be more love me. If there's a stadium in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference where if something can go wrong, it will go wrong, it is in Norfolk, Virginia. I've seen the craziest things in my life happen in Norfolk, Virginia. I was scared out of my mind last year when we had to go and clinch the MEAC and the Burton Celebration Bowl in Norfolk last year because I've seen crazier things happen. That's the game I'm looking at. All the other games inside the conference, Howard's got to go take care of business against Robert Morris. It's Robert Morris. Howard, you got to go take care of business. Get your face back. We know what happened with Hampton. You had a bye week. Get it fixed. Get ahead of the chains. Have a balanced offense. Run the ball, pass the ball. Get some guys healthy. Tired of hearing the excuses about you not being healthy. Them excuses at this point. Go beat Robert Morris. Morgan State, I'm praying for you. Praying for you. They had also a coach. They had a coach who lost a son last night in DC. So our like literal prayers are going to the Morgan State family, and our prayers and love go to them. And then, you know, we're hoping that this does not have a lingering effect on Morgan State. Yeah, last night's game, those are one of them games where it can have a lingering effect, man. You know, you hope that they've got the quarterback situation fixed. You just don't know. And they got to go play against Yale next week. Delaware State looking to possibly get their first W of the year, but I don't know, man. They got Virginia Lynchburg, and the way that Delaware State been playing, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Don't
and
do
then,
Delaware
you know,
State like that.
I don't know, no disrespect, man. I love Delaware State, but Dr. Cavil, the one who brought it to my attention that every conference has a valley.
I'm sorry. Delaware State becoming the valley.
We just as responsible for Delaware State as the SWAC is the valley.
Yeah, Delaware State is the valley of the MEAC.
Yeah, we responsible for them.
We talking Delaware State?
Yeah, we talking Delaware State. Yeah, we responsible for them. So hopefully they get their first W of the season this week. And then, of course, the top dog hosting the little Camels out of Bowie's Creek coming up to the Nets next week. Is going to be big time. And Doc, I know I was supposed to be showing some love only to the MEAC and to the NCAA, but I got to say, I did say at the beginning of the season that Tuskegee was going to catch one of these Division I Alabama schools. I said that like 25 times.
You did.
Does it come true this week? I don't know, but
I'll come back and apologize to all four of you all if Tuskegee Golden Tigers get it done. You know, I know AD is pushing on that. My man that does the HBCU mid-major with Stephen Gaither, they get on here, and I think, you know, he does some calls for the Tuskegee, and they got a great show to give you some insights on the Division II program. So I'll apologize to him, but I don't see what y'all see after watching Tuskegee.
Y'all ain't about to do Quincy Casey like that. Y'all ain't about to do Quincy Casey.
I don't know if Quincy Casey like that. You're right. He balled out against Pine Bluff last week. He balled out against Pine Bluff.
Yeah, he did. He get it done. He got it done against Pine Bluff, because I thought if anybody was going to get him on the short week after that tough loss with Pine Bluff, and they found a way to get it done. Let me give a shout out to Dr. Paul Bryant. He's going to take care of me up there at Alabama A&M. He's rolling. I like the matchup that you're talking about, Norfolk State Spartans. They got it done against Townsend Tigers, 21-14. Maybe people may have overlooked in terms of their win. But Norfolk rushed for 350 yards.
Yes, Lord.
I don't know if y'all caught that. On 54 attempts, 350 yards as they got it in there. The other one that I want to show some love to is Tennessee State, as they're back in action. They travel to UT Martin, second Big South OBC game, Martin, Tennessee, Harding, M. Graham Stadium. If they're going to make that next step, this is the gum they got to find a way to win in terms of doing it, as Tennessee State had off week and they're back into action. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like. So that's some of the ones I wanted to shout out myself in terms of big games this week. We're full of action. Get out there, travel, go see your HBCU game in your backyard. If you don't have one in the backyard, get on the road and get it done. Again, shout out to my neighbor, Mr. Dennis, as son Deuce, in terms of representing Kobe Cavil. He said he saw the video. He saw Kobe out there getting it done. So I wanted to give him a special shout out again as he's traveling. Travel safe. We'll see you back when you get into the neighborhood, and make sure we have a little notes under your doormat there so we can talk the rest of the week.
That's a lawnmower game, Doc. That's a lawnmower game. The loser of that game got to cut the other's front yard. That's a lawnmower.
Yeah, come on over here. Come on over here. At least trim up. I got to cut. I'll get it cut.
Hey, Doc, I have one more. I'm sorry. I got to get this one in. Shout out. Today is my 29th wedding anniversary. So shout out to my beautiful wife, Kim. She is on the road. Heck, 2/3 of Wheeler is on the road this week in D.C. But 29 years, that's my ride or die. She'll watch the show. I'm sure she'll send me her thoughts as well. She's a big Fort Valley fan as well, being from Warner Robins, Georgia. But shout out, 29 years of marriage today.
Hey.
Shout out to my big sister Kim. Little sister Kim there. Shout out. Much love to both of y'all celebrating your anniversary. Beautiful people, beautiful children, even more so. So safe travels, Kim. We'll talk to you when you get back. For everybody that continues to be on the move and travel and things like that, safe travels to all of y'all. Appreciate each of you. Charles, Mike, Joshua Sims Sr., BJ Jones, X's and O's. That's BJ Jones getting it done, and Joshua Sims Sr. Thank you for your time getting it. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. Shout out to the HBCU Lab listeners coming in here every Sunday morning and giving us their time as well. I am Dr. Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, come from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and our Sunday edition of Joshua Sims Sr., BJ Jones, with two of the three members of the X's and O crew, BJ Jones, curator of HBCU Weekly, and Joshua Sims Sr., curator of HBCU Nightly. Check them out on Tuesdays and Wednesdays on X, formerly known as Twitter. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. You know what we do right here on Sunday mornings at 9. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the news, give you some key matchups to watch. We'll break them down throughout the week and let you know what time it is. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, DrKenyatta Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. Facebook and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big, continue to move forward. Make sure you check out on tonight as Brian and AD on Sports Rap to see what they have about the HBCU sports scene as they set you up for the week. Wednesdays, ONG Strike Zone. You heard Mike talking about Mike a little earlier in the show as well. Throughout the week, and Saturday again with Carlos as he breaks down to let you know what's taking place across the landscape, specifically at Southern. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Joshua Sims and BJ Jones?
Dismissed.